Hey, welcome to Lee's Knowledge Sharing Wednesdays. Let's get started. You mentioned that you went to therapy. So I'm assuming because you're saying that you had buried or you had just detached yourself from dad's loss, from dad's death. At which point did you realize, okay, I need to deal? What happened in your life that made you realize, okay, there's something that I didn't do, there's something that's affecting me in general, and what made you realize, no, I need help?
So I think I touched a bit on the fact that my marriage didn't really work out as great. I went through the most in terms of emotions. I think I was on the verge of depression. I think I actually was depressed at some point. So I went to my doctor because I was getting sick on and off. Like, I think the pressures, everything just became too much. I felt like I'm drowning, like literally drowning. I felt like I'm not getting things right. I'm not breathing. Like, I know it sounds, someone would look at you and be like, what do you mean you weren't breathing? Yeah. You know when you feel like you're claustrophobic, like you feel like you're claustrophobic, like everything is just too much. You feel like even the littlest tasks become like, it's so much, like I can't handle this anymore. And I was becoming very edgy. I was becoming very I made a lot of mistakes. I started to make a lot of mistakes, and with my marriage, it caused me to really take a step back and look at myself and like, hey, Anita, how did you get here? Yes. Yeah. Like, how did you get here? I literally had to do them. Like, how did you get here? And a friend of mine, actually, really here.
Oh, really?
A friend of mine, I spoke to, I remember speaking to you and being like, girl, I don't know what's happening with me. And she suggested that go for therapy. Like, speak to somebody, because sometimes you go through things in life and you can't really link it. But you know something is wrong, but you can't really say, Uti, this is what's wrong, this is what I'm feeling, or this is what's happening. You can't put it into words, but you know there's something wrong. So Lisa said to me, just go to therapy. Like, speak to somebody who's actually trained in human behavior, in all of these things. And I went. Like, it took me a while first, but I don't want to lie, it took me a while. I didn't go immediately. It took me a bit of a while because I was like, but I'm
very
cray.
Yeah. And I think people make a mistake in terms of what therapy actually is. You know, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you.
It took me a while.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing people flying around. Like,
I'm fine.
But I think as things started getting worse and worse, because at some point I was blacking out. I just black out. I'd get physically sick, go to the doctor, and they'd be like, girl, you're healthy.
You're fine.
There is nothing wrong with you. And then I decided that, okay, maybe it's time that I actually just do this. So I went and I saw my therapist, and she was like, before we deal, because when I went there, I was like, I don't know. Everything's just falling apart. Things are just not working. I don't know what's happening. I think my marriage is just affecting me. She was like, before we deal with your marriage, like, let's deal with you. Tell me about you. Tell me about your upbringing, and tell me about school. Tell me about home. Tell me about everything. Tell me about work. And that's when she realized that there's some like issues that you haven't dealt with. And then she actually brought it to my attention. There's like boxes and boxes of emotions that you have not yet dealt with. And before you can be okay and deal with like your marriage, you need to open all those boxes and like
that pack them. Try to avoid that we don't even want.
So that's actually what happened.
Okay, I think we as I say, we tend to just avoid things that happen to us, or tend to be afraid of therapy. And I'm all for it, because I've been there and I've experienced things, and I realized how much going to a psychologist actually helps. So I think you must really consider, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you don't know what's happening, it really helps to talk to somebody. And as I say, sometimes it's much better to talk to a stranger, a person who has no judgment, a person who just hear and they're just literally there to listen to you. So it's important to go to every masinendo that's bothering us. We go to see somebody. So I'm glad that you went. How would you say you are? At which point are you now? Do you think you are better? Are you still dealing with certain issues, or have you found a way, a mechanism of just coping?
I think so. If I have to describe where I am right now, I'd say I am still dealing. So there's always going to be something that's like that I need. Yeah. So I am still dealing. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm 100%.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm more in control.
Okay.
So I think that's what she's taught me,
like
to be more in control. So yes, I go through the emotions. Yes, I do feel broken down sometimes, but I'm more in control of whatever is happening. So the one thing the most important thing that she taught me was it's okay to go through the emotions. Allow yourself to go through the emotions because it means that it's needed. Like your body, your mind, whatever needs to go through that. But be in control to say, okay, we've gone through it, we've cried, we felt sorry, now move on.
Let's move.
Yes.
All right, yeah, that's very important. I think being able to decide, okay, I've dealt.
Yes.
Now let me move on. Yes. Okay, all right, Mom, I'm glad. I'm so happy for you. Yay. I'm glad. Okay, so with over all of the challenges, because we all go through challenges, please tell us more about what you do. You did mention that you're an auditor. So what is auditing? Because when you say I'm an auditor, people think, you deal with numbers. And I'm thinking, actually, not really. But anyway, a story for another day. So can you tell us auditing? If you can just explain what auditing is and the difference, because it's not we don't always deal with numbers. It's not everybody that deals with numbers.
So I think the role of an auditor now versus back then has changed quite a bit. So now I would say that as an auditor, you sort of like partner with business to assist business to achieve objectives. So let's not talk jargon. Let's just break it down.
Yes.
So in essence, you are there to make sure. So you're like the internal police. You are there to make sure that there is a process that is meant to be followed. Is this process being followed? Are we achieving what we want to achieve? So is this process, so first you have to validate, does this process get us to what we want to achieve? So there's something that we want to get, whether we want to, reduce the number of data that we've got, or no, we actually want to increase data. We want to increase data, but we want to maybe the number of times that we collect money needs to be increased or whatever. So we now have to look at, as an internal auditor, does the process that we currently have, does it get us to achieve that? Okay. So as an internal auditor, so that's basically your responsibility. You're there to make sure that as a business, as management, we actually achieve whatever objective has been set. So if it means that you have to rewrite the process, that's what you do. You work with management to do that. If it means that you make recommendations to bring somebody in to make sure that we adhere to whatever process and achieve whatever objective, that's what you do. So in a nutshell, I think that's what it does.
Okay. So you mentioned internal. I was about to say, you mentioned internal. So what is an internal auditor? And then opposite of internal must be external, right? Yes. So what does an internal auditor do? What's the difference between an internal auditor and an external auditor?
Okay, with the little knowledge that I have, I would say that, as I said, with the internal auditor, your focus is internal controls. So your focus is the business meeting objectives and making sure that we as a business, we are good.
So we're there to assist them. We're actually on your side.
Yes,
internal auditors are on your side.
We really honestly are.
We are not against you.
Not.
You should be scared of the external auditors.
Very much. Yes, we might give you a hiding, but like your mom will give you a hiding so that
but it's to help
you know how to behave. That's exactly what internal auditors do. Yeah. So external auditors, they have, in most cases, they have no relationship with the organization. It's more like, okay, we're there. Our objective is to make sure that our financial statements are they a fair representation of the company? So we as internal make sure that the financial statements are ready, and then when external comes and they review their financial statements, those financial statements better be good. Because they don't sit with you.
They're not your friend.
They don't hold your hand and say, okay, so what do we do to make this right? No, they just tell you that this is wrong. Okay?
So that's why we say we are on your side.
Be nice to us, guys. We might give you a high, but it's on your side.
Okay.
It's a love.
So, okay, being an internal auditor, you're a lady. What is one challenge? What are the challenges you face? Because you meet clients, you meet different people.
Yeah.
So, what would you say, especially as a young woman, would say this is the biggest challenge that you would face as in your profession?
I think the biggest challenge would be to be undermined, first of all. So when you walk into an office or a plant or wherever, and you say, I'm here to audit you. First of all, they look at you and they think,
What are you going to tell us about our business?
what do you know? All you know is just to crunch numbers and you think to yourself, but that's not it. Like I really can add value. So I think the biggest challenge for me is when people sort of look down on you, and before you even open your mouth, before you even start with your work, already you get judgment. Already people are expecting you to fail. So it's a constant, like on a daily basis, you're literally fighting to prove yourself and to say that, you know what, I am. Like, I know what I'm doing, guys.
Yes.
I know what I'm doing. And obviously, you do that without putting any emotion into it, because as females, you're seen as too emotional.
Yes.
Right? Like, you can't be emotional about things, because then it's like, oh, but what we were expecting her to be like that, because she is after all a woman, you know. And so I think those challenges. So those some of the challenges that we face, and I think because of the industries that I've also worked in. It's very male dominated as well, so there is still that thing where you walk in and they're like, you know nothing about production, you know nothing about what you're going to tell me. And so before you even get there, you need to be ready, prepare yourself that, okay, I will face these challenges, so what do I do? Make sure that I'm prepared. So read up as much as I possibly can, so by the time I get there, yes, I might not know everything, but at least I can hold a conversation to say that, okay,
Would you not say also just making, I guess, the reading is what helps you obviously to be prepared, but self-confidence?
Yes.
Just be confident in yourself and what you bring to the table.
Yes.
Because if you're confident and confident in what you bring to the table, it will be obvious to everybody else. You know what I mean? Because if you walk into a place and intimidated, they'll see it.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So I definitely
self-confidence.
Yeah.
So you already told me that you're also a forensic auditor. So can you please tell us more about that? What exactly you do and how different it would be to the normal internal audits?
Okay, so with forensic auditing, so the difference is that you would go in and do specific investigations. So if there's an alleged fraud or somebody reported, because most companies have these anonymous reporting lines.
Tip-offs.
Yes, the tip-off lines. So then would then be allocated a case to say that there's a specific case that possibly involves fraud. So then you would then need to go in and do that investigation and be responsible for the entire investigation and also drafting of the report. So the drafting of the report is the same as the internal audit, but the only difference is that with the forensic auditor is that there's different skills that you require. So for example, you need to have interviewing skills. You need to be able to, so it works a lot with the law. So you need to be able to take into account what does the law say with regards to certain things. You're not allowed to interview somebody in a certain way. And when you are conducting an interview, there are certain things that need to be in place. So I think that's the major difference, is that when you're preparing a report in terms of when you're forensic audit, is that you're preparing a report with the thought in mind that it might end up in litigation, so you might end up having to go to court. So meaning that everything that you do must be legal. And yeah, so you must adhere to the law, and yeah,
Okay.
it's very strict.
So then why are we expected, why then when this fraud case, a big company in the news comes up and then they ask where were the auditors? Does it mean that internal auditors are not expected to detect the fraud?
No. So as an internal auditor, it is still your responsibility to so when you're doing your audits, let's say for example you are required to audit inventory, you as an internal auditor need to do it on a, so I say, risk-based audit process. So when you walk in there, you first understand what the entire process is, and then you have to then identify what are the possible, not the exact, but what are the possible risks that might exist in this process.
Okay.
So then you basically walk in and you poke holes and say, okay, if I was a criminal, I would probably do this. I'd steal money there. I would swindle you here. I'd do this. So that's what you're expected.
That's the thought behind. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
But it's just that internal auditors don't specialize.
No, they don't specialize specifically.
Okay.
But you can't walk into, for example, inventory and say everything is fine when inventory is missing.
Yes.
Like,
okay, so we
can't,
kind of have to see the alerts. And
yes.
Okay. Makes sense.
You raise the alarm.
So, but now, how do you now become a forensic auditor? Because as far as I know, from the story you've told us, you said that you studied econ accounting, and then third year you were exposed to auditing, and then you went on to get a job in internal auditing. So how did it come about to become now a forensic auditor?
Forensic auditing, I think I liked it because I like the investigation part of it. So I got introduced to investigations when I was, I think, was it Bridgestone? No, Bidcorp, I think. I did a fine investigation. I can't remember. But I've always liked the idea of, I'm sorry, tanging down, basically, like things. So I'm always digging. I always want to go further.
Analytical.
Yeah, very analytical. And sometimes very bad. Sometimes it's.
So the personal life is very bad.
Very bad.
It shouldn't be over analyzing things,
it can get not so pretty. So I think with my analytical nature, it just drew me more towards the forensic part, because as I was busy like trying to research internal audit, yes, there's internal audit, control based and all of that, but then I got introduced to forensics and I was like, oh, there's such a thing as forensic audit. So and forensics specifically, all you are doing is literally digging.
Okay.
And that for me, I think I was like, I love to dig.
Okay, so how were you qualified to become a forensic auditor? Because you didn't study it.
Yeah.
When you did BCom.
So I then went and I did a postgrad in forensic audit through UNISA.
Okay.
It took me a bit of a while, it took me a really long while, because it was work and it was studying all this. So I didn't fully okay, I'm going to study now. So it took me a bit of a while. So it's normally, I think it's a 2-year program. It took me about, I think, 3 years.
Okay.
From 4. Because I broke it down into
working part-time, doing it
bit by bit. Okay. And after I did my postgrad, then I went and I wrote the board exam, the ACFE. So it's an association. ACFE stands for Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. So then I went and I wrote the board exam and got my certification.
Board exam is in how many exams did you have to write?
So it's broken down into 4 modules.
Okay.
It's criminology, it's law, so criminology goes with law, it's financial statements, it's interviewing skills. Okay, I can't remember the 4th one, but there's a 4th one.
Okay.
So each one is about 2 hours. So you are given, it's an open book test.
Okay.
No, not open book, it's not open book, I'm sorry, it's correct. You do it online, so you write the exam online. However, guys, do not try and cheat because it will cash you out. So on the system, it's got a facial recognition thing. So you're given 4 keys for 4 exams, and you are given 30 days to write. So you can write 1 exam every week, basically. You can write the first one, so you are given, but as soon as you unlock the key, you have 24 hours to complete your exam.
Okay.
And don't twitch. Sit there, write your exam, look at them.
Awkward.
Like very awkward. So it's basically that's how it is. So it's like 4 modules, and you're given 30 days to write.
So so a person who didn't do it, so for example, if I didn't do auditing, can I now just go and say I'm going to go for the forensic auditor and just write the CFE? Or is it important to have that post-grad that you mentioned? Because you did say you had the post-grad in forensic auditing. Is that what are the prerequisites of writing the CFE exam?
Okay, so the postgrad is not a prerequisite, but for me it worked because it prepared me, because most of the stuff that I did in my postgrad was stuff that so it was easier to understand the work. So there is a lot of studying, because you still need to get the book, you still need to go through the study course, and there's an exam prep and all of that. But if you want to be a forensic auditor, or to be certified as a forensic auditor, you need to have a qualified, like a degree, some sort of degree. You need to, I think it's 3 years
work experience.
Yes, work experience. I think you have 3 years work experience, and
work experience not specific to.
You need to have done some sort of investigation. Okay. So even if it's just you're doing investigation here, put it all together, and then you submit, because before you write, you have to submit evidence of what you've done. Yes, okay. And then they rate, like they review it, and then based on that, the panel will then say, yes, now you qualify, you can write the exam.
Okay. Yeah. So from the discussion we're having, would you say then your passion lies in the investigations? And so what would you say to a person who feels like, okay, I'm in this career, I'm in this path, but I feel like it's perhaps too late to go into a different direction? What advice would you say? What advice would you give them as well, in terms of how if they feel that way, and how they can go about it?
I like what you said in the beginning when we started about how it's never too late. I think you mentioned something like that. So it is really never too late. You can't say that I've been in this industry for 15 years, for 20 years. How do I get out? You take the first step. Yes. So your passion is following your passion is very important. Imagine waking up every day, going to a job that you absolutely hate. Not only does it put strain on you, but it puts strain on everybody else around you, because you'll never be happy. You'll always be this person that's just not fully fulfilled. And I think nowadays everybody is really chasing that thing of I want to be fulfilled. Personal fulfillment is very important. Yes. So it's never too late. Take the first step. So find out what it is that you like, and it doesn't mean that now you're going to quit your job and be like, yeah, I'm going for it. No, we're not saying that.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. Go and research what it is that you like, and do it on the side. Study on the side if you have to study on the side.
As you said, because you said when you studied, you said it took time. You eventually got there.
Yes. Okay. So if you have to do it on the side, do it on the side. If it means that you have to volunteer once in a while, volunteer. So it does mean that it will take a lot out of you, because it means that your life does not stop. Your life does continue, but your passion can if you focus, if you put in the effort in your passion as well, your passion will end up overtaking the life that you think needs to be this is the life. Yes, true. So it's never too late. You can still do what you want to do, even after 30 years of doing this.
Never too late. It's never too late. Thank you so much, Anita. Thank you so much for joining us. This was such a great session. We do look forward to having you back again. We can share more information about other things. But thank you so much for everything. I just want you to give us some parting words or shots to words of encouragement to whether it be a young person, whether it be a person, because it's not just young person focused, but just for everybody in terms of what would you like to share. I won't even tell you which route or what you need to say. What's in your heart, and what would you like to leave with the people who are tuned in to these Knowledge Sharing Wednesdays?
Okay, so first of all, thank you again. It was really an awesome session, and I'm really honored that you even thought of me. So I think parting words, I'll definitely say that. So it's going to be for women. I'm sorry, guys, if this guy's watching me and Lisa. Right now, I'm just going to speak to the ladies. Ladies, young up and coming ladies, ladies who are trying to find themselves. Don't put pressure on yourself. Don't put pressure on yourself to be something super, super great. God has given each and every one of us a gift. Each and every one of us has a destiny, and we all have a path that we need to follow, or a path that we need to basically follow. So find your passion, like find what makes you happy, and pursue that, go for that. And it doesn't matter what everybody else around you says, but with me saying that, it is also important to have wise counsel around you. So don't be
teachable.
Be teachable. That's the right word. I like that. Yes, be teachable. So in your process of you trying to find yourself, because obviously in that so it is important to be teachable, but also don't lose your true self. Don't lose yourself trying to fit into what everybody considers right, what everybody considers attractive, what everybody considers acceptable. Sometimes God has made you different for a purpose. Find out what that purpose is. Spend time in prayer, spend time in the Word. Find out what that purpose is, and then go for it. And be you.
Thank you. I won't say anything else after this. Thank you so much for those beautiful words, my lady. I think it's also one thing that Lee's Knowledge Sharing is about. It's not that we are here as ladies to share because we know more or whatever. It's just because we are here to help each other with the bit of information that we do have access to. So whoever you maybe have been speaking now, and somebody says, but I know more than that, you know what I mean? But we basically here just to give what we do know. And I'm also here to learn, you know. That's why I'm bringing different people. As you're speaking, I'm learning, and you know, so I'm really grateful that you mentioned that teachable point, which we really need to be teachable constantly. We are always learning. You can't always know everything. So thank you so much, my lady. Thank you for coming, and thank you so much for tuning in. We are really grateful for you to just be here. And if you want to take part in these interviews, or you feel like you can also contribute, please do remember to email me on info@leewednesdays.co.za, info@leewednesdays.co.za. And we also have that mentorship program that I mentioned. It's more of a career guidance. So I just wanted to clarify that because people were a bit unsure in terms of what it entails. So it's just a career guidance where these girls can come and have someone to assist them. So I'll be matching them with certain ladies who will be helping them and assisting them. So I'm only going to be taking a maximum of 10 girls, just so we can be focused on those, because we don't want to have too many people, you know, that then get overwhelmed. For now, we'll just take a maximum of 10 girls. So if you do have a girl who you feel like can benefit or can be interested, you can email us their information as well, and then we'll take it from there in terms of whether we're assessing which they can now take part, because we kind of assess each and every girl's situation or their background or what they want to achieve or where they are, even in terms of the grades at school, and then we'll see which, okay, this is what we can take, and these are the ones that will need more help from us. So please do remember to email us, and thank you so much for tuning in. Have an awesome day. Mwah.